Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajmain. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and welcome again to another episode of Open Forum. You're with me, your host Zahura Abdul Aziz, and alhamdulillah, in the studio we have a very special guest with us this week on Open Forum. We have Professor Dr. Abdul Fattah Al-Awaisi, and Prof. Dr. Abdul Fattah is currently is a fellow at the Royal Historical Society UK, and also a very important person with regard to the field of inquiry of Islamic Jerusalem, Baitul Maqdis studies. He's a founder, and he's a renowned leading international professor of international relations, and also with regard to Islamic Jerusalem. Welcome to the studio, Prof.
Thank you very much for having me.
Alhamdulillah, you're able to come to Malaysia and also with us on Open Forum to share your insights and also your viewpoint with regard to the topic. So, inshallah, today, Prof, we'll be talking about Islamic Jerusalem, a model for peaceful coexistence and mutual respect. Before we go further to our discussion, I would just briefly introduce you to our listeners. Prof. Abdul Fattah Al-Awaisi obtained his PhD from the University of Exeter, and he has been teaching and researching for almost 35 years in many countries, many parts of the world. You've been to Arab, you've been to the Great Britain itself, to Malaysia several times, many times, and Turkey. I think your last affiliation was with a Turkish university. And when you were in Malaysia, you were a visiting professor at University Utara Malaysia, and for 8 years, yeah, Prof. And then you were also a professor of international relations at Social Sciences University of Ankara, Turkey, for 4 years. You established a very important area field of studies. You actually, one of your major achievement is your contribution to knowledge with regard to a number of theories and models in the field of international relations, and such as your new geopolitical theory, the Barakah Circle theory of Islamic Jerusalem, Baitul Maqdis, and your Aman of peaceful coexistence and mutual respect theory. You receive a number of awards. I think I need to mention this to our listeners, including the Sterling Council Provost Civic Award for 1999 in the UK, Special Award for Innovation in 2007, and recently the Islamic World Istanbul Science Award in 2018, and Custodian of Al-Quds Award in 2021. MashaAllah. I think with all these achievements and also your important contribution, we need to actually appreciate what you have done for the field of study of especially Islamic Jerusalem, Prof. Okay, Prof, we are going to talk about Islamic Jerusalem. My first question to you, Islamic Jerusalem or Baitul Maqdis is the perfect model of peaceful coexistence and also mutual understanding. So what are the factors that actually allow such a condition to flourish during that particular era, especially, Prof?
First of all, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be back.
Alhamdulillah.
And Akeem, I feel home every time I'm visiting this excellent place of intellectual and connecting with knowledge. Yes. Islamic Jerusalem as a model for peaceful coexistence based on 4 components, if I may put it in this way. Number 1 is the concept of justice, that you can't establish peaceful coexistence without justice.
Yes.
So if there is unjust to the society, you can't say this is a coexistence, which this will lead to what I call mutual respect rather than one-side respect. So the concept of justice is crucially important. The methodology of tadafu. What is tadafu? Tadafu is counteraction or counterbalance. I believe not in conflict, but peaceful coexistence based in maneuvering. You are very powerful now. A few years later, you will not be powerful. You will be weak. And that's talking about Ibn Khaldun and how the states develop, how civilization develop.
Yeah.
The third one, non-exclusion, that you don't exclude anyone from living within these spaces. And the fourth component is based on what I called constructive dialogue. Constructive dialogue, not a dialogue, but constructive dialogue. However, and this is something I have been thinking to add later on, two important points to the model which I have written about Bayt al-Maqdis. Number one, this cannot be implemented under occupation. This cannot. You can't implement the peaceful coexistence with the occupier. With the occupier, the only way is to fight that occupation until you get rid from this occupation. Because so many people read my models and they said how this can apply to the Israeli occupation. I said, number one, we need to get rid of the Israeli occupation. Then we can establish this model. And the example I have on Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab, when he conquered Bayt al-Maqdis, the first thing, he get rid of the occupation. After he get rid of the occupation, he established the peaceful coexistence. So what I'm adding to my model, that you can't establish peaceful coexistence with the occupation. The language with the occupier is to fight them at all levels until you get rid them from their occupation. So that's my new addition to the peaceful coexistence. The second one, which is, I don't know why I missed it at the beginning of my model of peaceful coexistence, that the outcome is aman. What is aman? Establishing security. You live in peace is okay, but you need to feel the security, that you are secure if you are a Muslim or you are a non-Muslim. And that's based on the respect of human dignity. And this is to the core to Bayt al-Maqdis and in the Islamic teaching. Basically, you need human dignity. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have given dignity to human. If they decide they are not worth of this dignity, that's something else. So these four components add to them that this model cannot apply under occupation, and secondly, the outcome is the aman, and to having the human dignity of everyone living in that region.
I think the points that you have raised, or what you have actually explained with regard to the factors or the elements that brings about peaceful coexistence, and in terms of the Islamic Jerusalem model is very much important. I remember in one of your writing, I read where you wrote, when Salahuddin al-Ayyubi liberated Islamic Jerusalem from the Crusader armies in 1191, in his reply to King Richard, by stating that Islamic Jerusalem is ours as much as it is yours. So in what way should the approach of Salahuddin al-Ayyubi guide us in our response towards the threat faced by Palestinians today?
Thank you for raising this question. I think that's crucially important. First of all, let me put it within the context, because if we don't put it in the context, it will be misunderstood.
Yes.
This was correspondent before the liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis. This was a correspondent between King Richard, the Lionheart, and Salah ad-Din.
Yes.
So they exchange a lot of letters.
Yes.
And Salah ad-Din was trying to reach, he psychologically examined what is in the mind of Richard. And Richard was going through difficult time in London. And some people, they would try to make a coup against him. So he started thinking of going back. In the same time, he is losing and Salah ad-Din is gaining. So he felt to enter into this negotiation, and Salah ad-Din was how to say, diplomatic enough to engage with that discussion. So Richard said to them, you the Muslims are invaders, and you are the occupier of this holy land, and because they believe this is the grave of Isa alayhi salam, we don't believe that. So you invaded the grave of Isa, etc., etc. So Salah ad-Din was saying to him, with Christianity, basically, you have right to live in this land. There is difference between have the right to live there and have the right to have a sovereignty over the land. This is two different things. Yes, Christianity, where is Christianity? Started in Bayt al-Maqdis, in the Holy Land. So there is so many Christian over there. So yes, we can share this land with you. But look at the second sentence. And he said, however, after the phrase you just read, and then he said, however, it is more important to us Muslims than you as a Christian. And don't think we will give it to you at all, as long as there is one single Muslim living in this life. So basically he is saying, you are most welcome. You need to live like on the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab. Umar ibn al-Khattab granted you the assurance of safety, al-Uhdat al-Umariyya, where he did not destroy churches. He welcomed the Jews back, Umar ibn al-Khattab, and established what I called this peaceful coexistence. So you have all the right to come to live in there, but to have a sovereign over this land, no single Muslim will allow you the. Let us now take this model of the statement of Salah ad-Din and looking at our time. When the Jewish as Jews had been kicked from Spain with the Muslims, who welcomed them? The Muslims in the Ottoman land. They welcomed them. No problem. We don't have any problem with Judaism or Christianity. We don't have. They are Ahlul Kitab. But the problem is with the Zionists, who came and occupied the land. The Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi, he said, we don't fight the Jews because they are a Jew. We fight them because they occupy the Muslim land. So according to Salah ad-Din's statement, yes, Muslim and Jews can live peacefully in Bayt al-Maqdis, can live after we finish the occupation. The occupation is, they are, according to the terms of Umar ibn al-Khattab, they are thieves. They have stolen the land and occupied the people, and they destroy everything. So according to Salah ad-Din, let us get rid of the occupation, and Muslim and Jews are most welcome to live under the sovereignty of the Muslims. So with the Zionist state now occupying the Holy Land, the only way, as I said at the beginning, the only way is to liberate this land. After the liberation of this land, Jews would like to live most welcome, and we have Christian before they are most welcome to live in the land.
So your highlight on importance of actually liberating the land from the occupiers. I believe that is the central element in understanding what peaceful coexistence is about with regard to this model.
Let me highlight. I think you picked an excellent point, mashallah. You picked, yes. The central point is to liberate the land. That is the most important. After this, you can establish this model of coexistence. And seriously, what we are suffering, and the Muslims, I'm not talking the Palestinian, what the Muslims has been suffering since the British occupation in 1917 until now is the word occupation. So sometimes we forget that this is under occupation. The core issue is the occupation. And what the Muslims need to think about is to liberate this land. And sometimes I feel, how to put it, try to be diplomatic as much as I can. Try to be proposing, like for example, one-state solution, two-state solution. These two proposals coming from the Zionist agenda try to pull us into their corner. That let us think, is it one-state solution or two-state solution? No single state, no two-state solution. The solution is to liberate this land. After that, everything can be discussed.
Yeah, inshallah. I think you have highlighted a very important point there. When we talk about Islamic Jerusalem, and you've been researching this particular area or field of study for almost 35 years, of what I've mentioned earlier, why is it important for us, especially the Muslim, to learn and understand about this, the concept or the understanding of Islamic Jerusalem?
Because it's a Muslim issue. Because it's not a Palestinian issue or an Arab issue. The problem that the Zionists manage to lead us to believe that this is a Palestinian issue. And this is one of the crime, if you allow me to say it. This is one of the serious crime against the Holy Land, that to say this is a Palestinian issue. Even sometimes we teach courses called Palestine question. And I have seen here in Malaysia, Palestine question courses. It's not Palestine question. This is a Muslim question rather than, but to limit it to the Palestinian and to the national state. So we are hoping to establish a Palestinian state rather than a Muslim state on that land. Unfortunately, because we are attached to this land emotionally. This is why we forget. I remember in 1917 when I done a research, it was an Islamic issue. There was Malaysian involvement, even in 1917. There was Malaysian, Indonesian, from South Africa. There was Muslims from the Balkan, from Turkestan, from the Uyghur in 1917 with the British occupation. Indian Muslim. This continued until the Arab nationalism emerged with Jamal Abdel Nasser. And then we start thinking, no, this is not an Islamic issue. This is not a Muslim issue. This is an Arab issue. Okay, so Muslim go and sleep. Don't think about it, about this issue. Later on, the Arabs in the Arab Summit in Morocco in 1973 decided, no, this is not an Arab issue. This is a Palestinian issue. So from a crime to disaster where we are standing. However, this is not even an Islamic issue. It's a Aqidah issue for Muslims. I will share you with one point. When we examine, we know that we have the Quran revealed in Mecca and the Quran revealed in Medina. The Quran revealed in Mecca were to establish the Aqidah in the heart and the minds of the early Muslims, the Sahaba. The Quran revealed in Medina related to the establishment of the Islamic State, political system, economical system, social system. So the first 13 years was to establish the Aqidah. When we examine the verses in the Quran revealed in Mecca, we counted it ayah by ayah, and we realized 1/3 of the verses revealed in Mecca related to Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa and Bayt Al-Maqdis. 1/3. So this means Bayt Al-Maqdis is connected to the Aqidah of the Muslim. And this is something, if it is Aqidah to the Muslims, Malaysian, when they concern about Bayt Al-Maqdis, not because it's a Palestinian issue, it's a Aqidah for him. Unfortunately, the ulama forget this part. And they did not teach the ummah that this is a aqidah issue. If it is a aqidah, this is a big issue. If it is a national issue, this is something else. So why? This is why Muslims need to involve. Not to leaving it to the Palestinian. Palestinian might do wrong things. Might do. This is like any nation. They have nationalists and they have Islamists. So one of the disaster over there when we leave it to the Palestinian. The Palestinian, they do what they can. But Malaysian and other Muslims, they will say, hey, we have the right. We have the right on this issue. We have to contribute to this issue. It's not only your land. This is the land of Masra Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This is the land where Rasulullah put a strategic plan for the liberating of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. So, sometimes I ask people in different Muslim country, why you concerned about Palestine? They said, and this is where I feel how you imagine that someone will help and be part if they don't know anything. And this is where ilm and ma'rifah is very crucially important, to educate the Muslims that this is your cause. This is not the Palestinian. Yes, I feel proud I born in Bayt al-Maqdis. I feel proud that I born in Bayt al-Maqdis. I feel proud I taught in al-Masjid al-Aqsa in my early life. But it doesn't matter that it is for me. Yes, it is for me. It is for you. It is for the sister. It's for all of us. And we need to feel proud, not because it's where I born. So this means it is mine. It is the aqidah. The aqidah is more important where I born or where I live the early of my life.
MashaAllah. I think you have stressed one important, I think that's the core of your work. I think is actually highlighting the fact that as Muslims, especially, the importance of the issue of what's happening in Palestine. By you explaining it's an issue of Aqidah. You're in Malaysia for 2 months, and I think you are currently under this 2 months tour under Haluan, and you'll be basically sharing about your book, I think, which is called The Strategic Planning for the Next Liberation of the Aqsa Mosque. So you might want to share this with regard, as a conclusion to our discussion.
Well, I'm glad that I will be here in Malaysia for 2 months. And I'm very grateful to Hulwan, the NGO, which is leading an excellent job. Not in Malaysia, but this will be a model for other Muslim country. I'm a fan of Malaysia, so this is why I felt we need to do something different in Malaysia. So my 2 months here is divided into 3 parts. The first part will be touring nearly all the states, and I will be staying for 3 to 5 days in each state, where I will meet ulama, I will meet NGOs representative, I will give public talk to universities and in mosque, etc., etc. Then during this time, we'll be selecting the cream of Malaysia, and then we will be inviting them for a train of trainers for 7 days, where I will be with them for 7 days. We start with Tahajjud, and we end our day with reciting Surah Al-Mulk and Surah Al-Isra. And for example, when I mention to the brother when they organize the program, we need to read Surah Al-Isra. Why Surah Al-Isra? I said, this is a forgetting sunnah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, since he was in Mecca, he will not go to sleep until he reads Surah Al-Isra. And there was no Jew living in Mecca at that time. So this is a forgetting sunnah. So we will, and during the day I will be giving the train of trainers for the people, in the hope when I leave, they will take the message and disseminate the knowledge in the rest of Malaysia. The third part will be organizing an international seminar on Baytul Maqdis studies. The book you mentioned, I'm feeling proud that I managed to write this volume, which is more than 700 pages, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. And I see this is the cream of the cream. This is the book which I put all my research or the conclusion of my research, all my theories, all my models, and I'm glad that this has been translated into Malay, and we will be launching it on the 28th of this month when we'll be visiting the university in Kelantan, because it will be published by their academic press, inshallah, tabarak wa ta'ala. So yani some people, they might say, well, we don't speak Arabic, we don't speak English. Now we are providing the book to you in Arabic. No excuse. Sorry, in Malay. So there is no excuse. And if we can't read, and the first verse in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, read.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, wallah, I feel very sorry when I see the Western world, they read, and we, the ummah of reading, we don't read. That is very, very painful to me. So what I can say, Hulwan and Malaysia is establishing a model for the ummah, not for Malaysia, for the ummah in relation to Baytul Maqdis and in the knowledge. And what we're asking people is only to do the first step, which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam done for the liberation of Baytul Maqdis before he started in politics and in collecting fund, if we put it in this way, donation, and for the military action. He started for how long? The whole of Mecca, 13 years, and the whole of Medina, 10 years, 23 years. Even when he started the political action towards Baytul Maqdis, it was on year 7 after the Hijrah. So 13 years plus 7, that's 20 years of knowledge foundation before he start taking political action or military action. He passed away, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the Masjid al-Aqsa was not liberated. Who took responsibility? Abu Bakr. He continued the plan. He did not liberate the Masjid al-Aqsa. After 5 years of the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Umar ibn al-Khattab managed to liberate the Masjid al-Aqsa.
Yeah, that's very insightful, Prof, what you have shared. I believe, your contribution is very important towards understanding this particular issue per hand. Thank you, Prof, again for this first part of the discussion. Inshallah, we'll talk again to Prof. Dr. Abdul Fattah Al-Awaisi on our second part of discussion next week. I thank my producer, Hajjah Mazlina Ismail, for being with us today. And thank you, everyone, for listening to IKIM Radio on Open Forum. With that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.